Hi, my name's Ellie. Thanks for joining me today. Okay, you tell me. Do you know anyone who just has to be in charge all the time? They must always be in charge of everything. They organize people, they direct everything, they protect everyone, and they seem invincible. They hold things together until they can't anymore. And then they kind of collapse, and generally it's a great big boom that they land because, they've been hanging on so tight. This is the ruler archetype, and today we're going to be looking at the ruler archetype because, it's not just an ancient myth or an ancient archetype. These things are archetypes because they play out eternally. And we do have ruler personalities that are playing out in the modern world. So the people who are around us, who lead with strength, and sometimes they grip so tightly that they basically break their fingers. So there is an example that I went and I found so that you could kind of see just how extreme this ruler archetype can get. I decided to go with Gaddafi, the leader of Libya between 1969 and 2011. He began, as many rulers do, with a vision, and he was considered to be a social visionary. His rise to power in Libya in 1969 with revolutionary ideas really positioned him to be a strong liberator and reformer of the country. Early on, Gaddafi embodied the ruler's drive to bring order and to reshape society. He had a lot of people following him, and true to his archetype, Gaddafi was obsessed with control. Over time, his leadership became increasingly authoritarian. That sounds a bit familiar. He centralized power, he suppressed dissent, and he cultivated a cult of personality. He cultivated a cult of personality. He created a cult of personality. That sounds weird, doesn't it? They are the hallmarks, those characteristics of a ruler in survival mode. Gaddafi's paranoia started to grow over the years. He developed a real fear of chaos and exposure. His fear of uprisings and foreign influence and betrayal started to dominate his thinking. And his elaborate security measures that he put in place and his erratic behavior that became very apparent to the world reflected a deep fear of losing control over his nation. During the Arab Spring of 2011, his grip on power finally unraveled. I think it had been 42 years. Once a revered man, he became isolated and vilified. His downfall was brutal and it was very symbolic, as this archetype goes. He had built an empire based on control, and it was undone by the very chaos that he tried to suppress. On October 20th, 2011, Gaddafi was captured by rebel forces in his hometown of Sirte after trying to flee in a convoy. He was found hiding in a drainage pipe. That's not very ruler-ish of him, wounded and disorientated. And he was alone. Shortly after his capture, he was executed by rebel fighters, a moment that was filmed and widely circulated around the world. His death marked the end and collapse of his 42-year reign, and it also symbolized an end of centralized control in Libya. He'd been holding on so tightly right from the center. He went from visionary to ruler to nothing overnight. It tells us something about how the ruler archetype takes control of their world and what it takes to end their reign. This is a very strong grip that the ruler archetype has. So who is the ruler archetype? All right, the ruler archetype shows up as the boss, the parent, the partner, the pastor, the teacher, the person who craves order, but, needs a little tweak now and then. They value structure. They take responsibility, often for everybody around them. At their best, because, a ruler doesn't have to be a bad person. And so when they're at their best, they become a stabilizer. They can stabilize friendships. They can become the anchor of the family. They can stabilize nations. They can keep a vision going in a corporation for decades. But when fear creeps in, the control that they use to stabilize becomes their personal shield. They micromanage other people, they resist change, they struggle to gain trust of any kind towards other people. And it's not about their ego, it's about their sense of safety. And that's why it's very easy to misunderstand them. So you'll notice when a ruler is in crisis, because that you'll be able to understand when the plans are beginning to unravel, when someone becomes very defensive and rigid or reactive. They may begin to dominate all of the conversations. They may start over-planning. They might start over-correcting. They might isolate themselves from others because letting go and being in the company of those that you can't control kind of feels like a sort of a collapse to them. Just think about someone who only feels calm when everything goes their way. That's the ruler who's in survival mode. Some rulers are power hungry. They seek dominance, status, and control just for the sake of control. But most of the rulers are afraid. They're afraid of chaos, they're afraid of being exposed, and they're afraid of what happens when they're not in charge. For them, control becomes a coping mechanism, a way to feel safe in a world that feels unsafe and unpredictable. If you need to relate to a ruler because they're in your orbit, then it really does require you to have boundaries and clarity. You don't need to submit to their control in order to maintain peace. And this is something that people often mistake. They feel that because this person is a ruler, they have to kind of just placate them in any way that they can. Instead, you can assert your needs, but of course respectfully. Use language that's firm but non-confrontational. That's often the best way. For example, you could say something like, I understand that you like things a certain way, but I need space to do things my way, just as an example. Encourage shared responsibility, of course, because we do live in a community with other people, but not silent compliance. It's really easy to become the victim of a ruler. So it is one of those things, if you're going to be in the orbit of this person, you do have to set strong boundaries and make sure you maintain them. So when you say something, mean it. Otherwise, it's probably best not to say it. Healthy relationships with rulers are built on mutual respect, not on fear. And the ruler will probably respect you better when you have those personal boundaries. Whether the ruler in your life is your boss or a partner or a parent or a friend, they aren't actually your ruler. You are the one who rules yourself, but you can still identify the archetype that they align to, which helps you to understand them better and also helps you to know how to navigate the ripple effect that they might cause in your life and the life of people around you. If you enjoyed this video and want to find more of that focus on spiritual empowerment and psychology, or recognizing archetypes of some kind that have surfaced in your life and how to deal with them, check out my growing playlist because the videos are starting to mount up. You can find them on my homepage. And don't forget to subscribe and like and hype and share and comment and all those wonderful things. You can also support me on Patreon and PayPal. Every bit helps to keep me here. Welcome to the new world. This is Ellie Dreams Down Under. I love knowing you're here, and I'll see you in my dreams.